Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the live stream. We have a new guest. We're very proud. She's been on the show before. She's a journalist based in Washington, D.C., and a contributor to the Grayzone. She's produced and reported several documentaries, including on-the-ground reports from Korean Peninsula, Palestine, Venezuela, and Honduras. Please welcome Anya Parampil. How are you?
Hey, Jimmy. What's up?
It's good to see you. Thanks for coming back on the show.
My
Are you
pleasure.
enjoying your visit to Los Angeles?
The sun makes such a difference.
Oh, really?
Just in my attitude about life. DC gets really nasty and gray.
Okay.
I don't know why people live there.
I hear
Whenever I land in LA, my mood is just elevated.
Oh, good. All right. Fantastic. Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want, Cool.
Okay. So we're going to talk about Starbucks right now because there's been a lot going on. There was the Amazon union that got formed, and Starbucks have been organizing unions around the country, and it's organized. Starbucks workers versus oligarchs in the city of Buffalo. That was good news. Until this past December, Starbucks had no unions of any over its 9,000 corporate. So there was no unions at any of the Starbucks. But workers in upstate New York challenged all that rank and filers at a Starbucks in Buffalo, stared down and beat back the extravagantly funded opposition of a $50 billion corporate colossus. Against all odds, they voted to unionize. That was in Buffalo. That stunning rank-and-file victory has inspired a labor spring that's now sweeping across the United States. Starbucks Workers United has so far won 16 elections nationwide, and workers at 176 other Starbucks storefronts have officially filed for union recognition. Look at that. How are the corporate Starbucks power suits reacting? Well, they're panicking. The company has even brought back retired chief executive Howard Schultz, who's in my act. Come see my act, by the way. We'll be in Cleveland, Columbus, and Pittsburgh next week. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all tickets, and single tickets are now available. So if you tried to buy an individual ticket before and you couldn't, you can now. So go to jimmydorcomedy.com, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Cleveland next week. See you there. So they brought back Howard Schultz. It's a 9-year second stint. The intensely anti-union Schultz pocketed $553 million. Jesus Christ. But Schultz, the third timer, is clearly feeling the New York pressure. On April 4th, his first day back on the job, the billionaire announced that he was halting the $20 billion in stock buybacks the company had planned for the next few years. Now, why is that significant, Jimmy? Because what stock buybacks do is they just enrich the rich people who own the stock of it. And it boosts the pay of executives. So why is Howard Schultz now making this abrupt about-face on stock buybacks, his first order of business? Well, his announcement of the change proclaimed that suspending buybacks will allow us to invest more profit into our people and our stores. The only way to create long-term value for all stakeholders. That's what he said. That's why they're doing that now. Translation, we're going to pause our greed grabs until we can crush the union organizing momentum that workers in Buffalo have inspired, and then we'll get back to enriching the already rich. So they don't want to do that now. They want to wait till they crush this union. So they don't want to give the union all this fodder. The strike, that strike you as too cynical an interpretation of the current corporate Starbucks game plan? Take a look at the latest press reports. With Schultz back in charge, notes one, firing of union activists appear to have accelerated, with several union leaders in Buffalo either fired or forced out. But crushing the union momentum that Buffalo baristas have inspired won't come in as easily as Schultz seems to believe. The rank-and-file challenge to America's oligarchy has already burst past the confines of Starbucks, and they're up in Amazon. But here he is, Starbucks barista challenges. So they had this meeting in Phoenix, and they brought in some younger workers, and they were asked to interact with Howard Schultz at this conference room near an airport, and it didn't go well for the CEO of Starbucks. Tensions flared during a meeting between Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz and workers in Long Beach, California on Friday, closing out a tumultuous first week for the returning executive. Madison Hall, a 25-year-old barista and union organizer, says that the 68-year-old billionaire repeatedly bristled at and cut off their questions about Starbucks' handling of the growing union movement within the company. If you hate Starbucks so much, why don't you go somewhere else, Schultz told Hall. Isn't that nice? It's called union busting. That's what Cenk Uygur did over at TYT. Hall, who has been leading the unionization effort at the Second and Covina store in Long Beach, was offered a last-minute invitation to the gathering by their manager on Thursday evening. The event took place in a conference room in a building near Long Beach Airport and was pitched to them as an opportunity to meet with senior-level management with little other context. The event began with a full replay of the hour-long speech that Schultz gave to the entire company via live stream on Monday. The CEO attacked Starbucks Workers United several times throughout the speech, calling them outsiders trying to take our people and part of a nationwide assault on corporations. How will the corporations ever defend themselves? According to the statement given to More Perfect Union by a Starbucks spokesperson, the focus of the meeting was about ways we can improve the partner experience and the various ways we can co-create the future of Starbucks together. Schultz, long known as a virulently anti-union executive, has led Starbucks for most of the past 35 years, and after pushing to decertify the UFCW union that some members of the company belonged to when he bought Starbucks, Schultz has been at the helm during several crackdowns on attempted union drives. In 2009, he lobbied the White House to kill the Employee Free Choice Act, which would have made it much easier for workers to unionize without threat of an immediate intimidation or firing. When Schultz left Starbucks to float his third centrist presidential run in 2016, he famously said, "Unions are not the answer." And in the fall of 2021, he addressed unionizing workers in Buffalo with a speech loaded with uncomfortable allusions to the Holocaust. There was a direct confrontation with a pro-union worker during that event, too, and it helped spur along a movement that has now reached 15 unionized stores and 185 more waiting for either their certification or election dates. This despite Starbucks' ongoing engagement in an unprecedented anti-union campaign that has cost the company vast sums of money and public goodwill. On Friday, Starbucks was hit with another complaint by the NLRB, that's the National Labor Relations Board, for its unlawful February firing of 7 workers at a Tennessee location. Collectively known as the Memphis 7, they've been traveling the country to attend protests and speaking out against the company's union busting. So workers, literally the lowest rank at Starbucks, tried to organize a union, and they fired them for it. That's illegal, but nothing's going to happen. This past Monday, hours after Schultz opened forum with Starbucks employees worldwide, the company fired Layla Dalton, a Phoenix barista and union organizer who had been subject to more than 2 months of harassment by management. Her treatment also earned her a formal complaint by the NLRB. So here you go. There's another one. Starbucks fires union leader for protecting herself against harassment. There's one. There's another one. Starbucks fires another union leader as fight with workers intensifies. So let me bring in Anya Parampil from the Grayzone. And what's your reaction to, I mean, we knew Starbucks was anti-union and they were going to try. So what do you make of this story?
I'm just trying to remember, did Howard Schultz run as a Democrat or a Republican when he ran for president?
I'm pretty sure he ran as a Democrat.
Why
right?
is it that he would identify with that party? I mean, this is, in a nutshell, how the Democratic, he represents the Democratic Party so well. First of all, the fact that he even thought he could run, that he had a chance, I guess he figured that just the fact that all of these people go out and buy their Starbucks every day meant that they would cash in a vote for him as well.
Yeah,
because no one knew who he was or cared. But his ego told him that he could actually run for president. And I love this language that they put in there when they're trying to, obviously this bringing the union leaders into Phoenix for a meeting with Howard Schultz. That was where they were trying to figure out which one of these which one of these characters can we co-opt, which ones are the real deal that we're going to have to fire.
Right.
And so that's why they went ahead and let go a bunch of them afterwards. But they were this language that they put in the conference, like, we're going to create our future together, as though these workers are going to be brought into the decision-making process through the will of the company without actually fighting. That corporate language I just always find so fascinating, how they think people are going to fall for it. But it's amazing to me that these, I mean, this should be where I mean, you see AOC and politicians like her posing in those photo ops, but I don't get how is Bernie or AOC, how are they not going to these shops and like holding rallies and making this like their issue as the progressive caucus within the Democratic Party?
They've been able to ignore every unionizing effort. But where the fuck has Bernie Sanders been? He went with the Disney employees a couple of years ago, and I haven't heard shit from him since. Maybe he's out there.
I mean,
but
maybe
if
they
he
make
is, he's
tweets.
not. Go ahead.
They make tweets, maybe.
Okay,
but that doesn't count, right?
I
don't even know if they've tweeted, but
that
I just
barely counts. That barely counts, but it barely counts.
Wouldn't you be showing up at some of these locations?
Well, I'm surprised. Like, why wasn't AOC and Bernie at the? I mean, these are supposed to be our progressive leaders, and of course, Bernie's not a progressive leader. Bernie is a progressive sheepdog. Mm-hmm. So as soon as there's a chance to actually challenge power, Bernie tucks his tail and goes home. Because
I feel like this movement of young people working jobs,
right,
such as at Starbucks or at Amazon, coming together and leading their own movement, that is kind of the legacy of the Sanders campaign. He did popularize a lot of these sentiments, I think, with the younger generation that wasn't thinking about unions and wasn't thinking about workers' rights and organizing. And that became something that people talked about through the Bernie experience. And then he just kind of hung them out to dry.
Yeah, he abandoned them. And so here I just want to tell this quick story about Howard Schultz is using Holocaust stories to try to squelch unions. Former Starbucks, he told a story about the Holocaust to promote the company's benefits to a group of employees at a meeting this past weekend. Schultz, who is Jewish, said a rabbi in Israel told him about the experience of prisoners at concentration camps in Poland. They were only given a few blankets and they had to share. Not everyone, but most people shared their blanket with 5 other people, said Schultz. So much of that story is threaded into what we've tried to do at Starbucks, is share our blanket. Wow. And the way you share your blanket is Howard Schultz gets 553 million blankets, and then you get 1 blanket to share.
Yeah.
Schultz shared a story with employees in the Buffalo area Saturday. He said it illustrates Starbucks' commitment to morality, honor, and humanity. He's told the story before, including during a 2016 shareholders meeting. Reactions to his analogy have been wide-ranging. Holocaust prisoners' selflessness while facing death isn't a direct parallel to a Fortune 500 company providing benefits to its employees. Felt like it wasn't a very appropriate analogy, a Starbucks employee in attendance told the New York Times. The Forward, a Jewish publication, called the remarks mystifying. And by the way, just to let you know, 2 Starbucks stores in Boston are unanimously secure union. So this is just from April 11th. So the first new union. So the union movement is spreading among Starbucks, Amazon. Now it's got to catch on at Target and Walmart, and we'll have something.
Maybe it is obviously not an apt comparison, the Holocaust and working at Starbucks. But if you're even making that comparison, maybe that's why your workers need to unionize.
Yes.
If his story is that, well, actually our working conditions at Starbucks are better than a concentration camp in the Holocaust, maybe that's why your workers are asking for a little more. And
here's another, Bloomfield Starbucks becomes the chain's first store in Pennsylvania to unionize. Look, and they voted 20-0 to unionize. So these people are ready to do it. The National Labor Relations Board tallied the vote Wednesday afternoon, though it still might certify the results. Still, with union organizers' apparent win, the Liberty Avenue shop joins about 20 other Starbucks stores nationally that have opted since December to form. So there's been 20 Starbucks stores since December. So this is definitely a trend. And it's catching on, and they brought in Howard Schultz, the billionaire, to squash this. We'll see how it works. Bring him back. They're like, can we call him the billionaire again? Yeah, let's bring the billionaire back. The billionaire Democrat who says we can't afford health care. All right, well, there you go. So that's the update on Starbucks and the union movement. And go workers. Go for them. Come see a live stand-up show or be in Orlando, Tampa, Cleveland, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, Omaha, Des Moines, everywhere. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for our live show tickets. Also, become a premium member and get access to all our extra stuff and help support the show. See you at a live show. Single tickets now available. Single tickets available.